Hey guys, Dave here, and welcome back to another episode of FFBE War of the Visions. Last episode, I did a video outlining, showing that vision cards are the number one way to make your account strong. They're better than weapons, they're better than characters. And then number two, depending on the situation, it's going to be espers in most situations, and weapons in others. But that all depends. So I figured it'd be good to follow that up with my second roadmap video for vision cards and espers, because it's been a while since I did it and there's been a lot of new additions. Now I've added some new stuff to this. I've added ratings as well, and I'm going to jump right in and show you how that worked. Hey guys, here's the rating system. I've used it before. I've added free match battles, PvP number 3. I originally debated putting it in or not, and I decided not to, but a lot of people cried about it, so there it is. Now, I'm going to explain how I'm going to rate for each category. Guild battles, basically, is it good for PvP or not? Plus, is it a 2-rounder or is it a 1-rounder? Okay. Number 2, PvP arena. It's only 1 round, so is it good for PvP or not? Free match, is it good for PvP or not? But that's not very important. The most important part here is it good for PvP preparing against the unknown? So that's why I originally decided not to do it, because free match, you don't know what you're up against in most situations unless it's arranged. So it's preparing against the unknown. That's how I'm rating it. All right, then your PvE raids, that's going to be like chaining, agility, stuff like that. Your PvE box event, that's going to be chaining, agility, and also considering that you have 5 units to go in there and other stuff that you would need for those events. Tower, that's going to assume basically well-rounded, balanced. Okay, so there's not going to be any one best thing throughout the whole tower. That's why you'll typically see lower ratings there. Challenges are always going to change. Some things are better for challenge because it's only like 1 round versus tower, so you might see higher challenge things than others. And then farming, is it good for farming or not with the mathematician or guild? Basically just the mathematician, because that's really what you want for farming. And if you don't have her, go after her. If the Halloween Dida is coming out, I would definitely get her, because she's going to be, in my opinion, better than the nerd, because she has the nerd main job, and she also has the white mage job, which is really good for PvP. So better PvP unit, in my opinion. All right, so now that we know how the rating system works, let's jump right in. It's a really long video. If I feel like it, I'll put in timestamps, but if not, you can just jump around to whatever interests you. So without further ado, let's jump right in. And I did my best to try to put them in the same order that they came out on JP. However, we don't know if all of them are coming out on global. They might be limited time, blah, 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 blah. And they might not be at the same time that they came out on JP. So just keep that in mind and take the order and whether they're coming or not with a grain of salt. Okay, here we go. All right, so now that we're looking at the first one, the Battle of the Four, I thought this one was supposed to come already, but I'm assuming maybe it'll come with Titan. I forget what came with Titan, and I couldn't find it online. But how we're going to do this, I'm going to explain the ratings, I'm going to explain the stats, maybe some highlights of where I've seen it used that was really good, and then I'm going to explain whether you should go for it or not based on the card and based on your needs. Now, the reason the usefulness rating is there is, let's say your number one goal is PvP guild battles arena, but you don't really like free match, or you like free matches but not any of the other stuff. So you can look at the rating that I've given it, which is my objective opinion based on fact, and see whether that's worth it for you or not. Now, when the card originally comes out, you might want to save enough for the step up, 10K, so you guaranteed get it. MR cards, I don't think there's a guarantee, but you're likely to get it there as well. And then in addition to that, buy all 3 sets of shards on the shop. If there's a daily purchase bonus, definitely do that. I mean, if you're free to play, I mean, come on guys, you got to support the game a little bit. It's only like $5, or maybe $7 now that they've increased it. That's not that much. And then that will help you get a bunch of shards to start out with. And I highly, highly recommend for the things that are really going to strengthen the team that you're trying to build, go ahead and farm the Whimsy shop. I mean, right now it's only 3. For some limited time on JP, like the Demon Wall, that thing was popping up triple in the shop. You would get a 5, a 5, and a 3. So sometimes up to 13. Now, they haven't been that generous on Global yet for the Whimsy shop vision cards. Hopefully they will be in the future. But anyways, I talked long. It probably should have gone in a different section, but we're just going to go with it. So Battle of the 4, yeah, it's got a nice group ability for 20 crit. That's why it's pretty decent across the board. But the highlight, what I saw it was good at the most, was possibly like a PvE box event. So that in a box event, you can have up to 5 vision cards. The next one we're looking at is the FF4 weapon event. So having one of your units start out with more AP to begin with, it's going to allow you to chain more without interruptions. And we all know that after the ribbon event, chaining is very important. Okay, it could also be decent in a raid, but usually you're just going for all-out damage and agility in raids. So I think box event would be the #1 spot to use this, but again, good across the board. So base your decisions on that. And I know a lot of people are waiting for the Titan card here. Yeah, it's pretty good, but it's mostly just good at PvP, because once you add that man killer and it's not just flat across the board, like a tower and challenge events, the chance of it being a human is maybe like 1 out of 3 or like 1 out of 4. So is it going to be good in some PvE stuff? Yeah, absolutely. The FF4 box event is Galgabez or something like that. I forget his name. But he's a human, so it'll work great in that. But again, the man killer is more focused towards PvP. That's why I gave it higher ratings there. So that's absolutely great. You can stack that with like the 35 from Over Snowy Field. The single unit gets 10 pierce on top of that. So yeah, like with the upcoming spear meta with Kane also coming, this is a great one to have. But after Kane, there other than the Adum, the MR, which is borderline UR, there really haven't been any other spear users new coming on JP. So they're in the fist meta right now. So hopefully it comes back to a few more spear users in the future. But this is a good card across the board. But I personally would not go after it unless you're focused on PvP. Okay. You definitely might want to pick up a copy of the Esper, but if you're not going for a spear team, Ifrit is just as good for damage. Titan has a tiny bit more crit with the dexterity and stuff. And then, Siren, you can also go the defensive build with the slash resistance. And as you know, like Glacilia and whatnot, they're innately strong against slash attacks. I saw someone, I think they're even in the 90 percentile for slash resistance on Glacilia, which is absolutely nuts. Okay, so Siren and Ifrin are great for that. So if you're not really focused on PvP, you might want to skip this. Okay, all right, so here's the Titan Esper. Like I said, across the board, it's pretty average. Now this Esper, when I said Ifrit is pretty much just as good, I kind of meant like attack wise. This one, you have the 15 spirit on that, so you're better for that resist against magic units. Sorry. Then you have what else do you have? Like lightning killer and stuff. So you can be a little bit more offensive in certain categories, and you can be a little bit more defensive in some categories. I think Ifrit has missile resistance. So again, every Esper is going to have their strengths and weaknesses, but as far as like offensively, just like non-situational stats, they're the same. Okay. I don't think there's anything super special about this Esper, but it can be good in different situations. Okay, now this one, here you're looking at a 20 missile resist card. So this is the first non-limited one that has that, and it has 10 man killer single. Okay, and notice there's no wasted stat magic. Why do they do that on units that don't use magic? Completely bogus. But this one actually has dexterity, and luck, which means you're going to have a little bit more evasion and you're going to have a lot more crit on the unit. So this is really good, and since it's the first big missile resist card, you can use it in every category. Now 5 and 6 are low because you don't know what you're up against. You're going to have a lot of variety in there, right? And this doesn't give you a variety on the card. Okay, it's just one specific thing. But for PvP, when you know you're going up against a missile team, it's going to be great. And I gave it a high rating for free match because a lot of people like to use Frederica in that, and missile units and whatnot. And you also get the man killer and the dodge, everything pretty good. So I think this is definitely a card that everybody should probably be trying to go after. It's going to make your account a lot stronger defensively and a little bit offensively as well. Our Bloody Moon, this is an MR card. I absolutely hated this trial on FFBE, but it is what it is. Now, I gave it good ratings across the board in PvP. You lose 3% agility, which isn't huge, but you gain 20 accuracy, and a lot of people like to do evasion, put the hat on Venera and stuff like that. 20 accuracy is huge, and 15 AoE resist for the group, again, is also pretty big. If you didn't get Death Machine, or you started too late and didn't even have a chance at them, 15% here is the next best thing. I mean, it's more focused at a magic unit, but you can definitely still use it on a physical user. So this is a great card across the board. If you don't have Death Machine, you definitely want this. If you do have Death Machine, you might still want it for the 20 accuracy on the single unit bonus. And so Bloody Moon's a pretty decent Esper as well. Decent for magic attack, but the thing that stands out the most on his Esper is the fact that you get 25 charm resist. So if you combine this, for example, with the vision card or something else, you can become immune to charm. This could be very big in certain situations. Again, I see that being more useful in like tower and PvE type events. But again, decent for an MR one, but the key there, for me at least, is the charm resistance. All right, Chivalrous Thief. This one's pretty decent right here. Single 8% agility. That's pretty good. And then 20 Ice Killer. Now, I put it pretty low for PvP, especially free match, because it's very situational. And guild battle PvP, like if you're going up against ice, great. But if you're not, then it's not that great. It's not really... I mean, 8% agility for a single unit is really good, but it doesn't really benefit the group if you're not going up against ice. Now, I put it really high in raids and box events, because if you are going up against a unit like that, it's going to be best in slot. That's the only reason I did it there. And then for farming, because single 8% agility, that's why I put it in there. But pretty decent card across the board, and I think it's the first one with Ice Killer on it. So you may want to pick it up. I mean, maybe not. It's a decent card either way. All right, so the Aigaon was one of the most annoying trials. I face pounded it because I played JP, but some people who spent 3, 4, 5 hours trying to take the thing out. This is a very good card for PvP. Very good. It's kind of half of each. So instead of 35 slash, you get 25. Instead of 25 accuracy, you get 15. But in PvP, you only have 3 vision cards instead of 5 or 6. And therefore, the combination vision cards like this are going to be more PvP oriented versus PvE. Okay, and also the single, you have 20 slash penetration, so that basically cancels out 20 slash on the other unit. Now that's really good. Like, let's say for Bling Stern, I've seen like Whispers and whatnot at 100% slash resistance, so you'll do 1 damage. Well, guess what? Now you can do at least a couple hundred maybe with something like this. But again, it's pretty strong across the board. Even if you're not big into PvP, the Esper is best in slot for units like Miranda, Ramza, Frey Eva, etc. So let's jump in and take a look at the Esper 2. So again, if you're focused on PvP, you probably want to get this, plus max it out right away. But if not, it might be a skipper. But before you decide on that, take a look at the Esper. Now this one here, I said, for Miranda it was good, and it can be, but she doesn't really benefit from the slash attack in the red mage because jamming thrust is magic. So just want to let you know. But for Rain, Frey, Eva, any spell blades like Ramza as well, it's going to be really good. It's going to be best in slot for always damage, and then for situational damage, it might not be, right? But if you're going up against like water, for Rain, that could be really, really good because he's innately weak against water. So you can help nullify some of that resistance there. And in addition to that, it has magical resist. So, it's basically made for Rain or Frey Eva, or possibly even Ramza, because he's sort of a magic tank too. So any of those 3 units, this would be really, really good on. So again, great across the board. I recommend that everybody try to pick up at least the Esper, if not the Vision card as well. Okay, so in this card, a new mechanic started on JP, and that is certain single target abilities only affect certain unit types. Okay, so here we see the 30% attack is only for dark units. Okay, that's why it's gotten bad ratings in PvP. Okay, because you can only put 3 units in there, and one of them has to be Pierce, so it has to be Kane. And the whole idea of Vision cards is you can use 1 card for many, many types of units. So this kind of takes away, in my opinion, half of the value of the card, because it makes the card situational. Okay, not only that, but it's limited time. Not only that, but it's a mix, right? Which I said was good for PvP, and it is, but it's a situational mix, and it's not that great in my opinion. However, when you are using it with Kane and you are using it with a dark group or someone who can benefit from it, it is really good. Don't get me wrong. However, again, it's just situational. So, even if you're going after Kane and you're free to play, I wouldn't really recommend, chasing this card, because 1, it's limited time and you have to spend right away for it, and then 2, just because it's so situational. And unless they bring in more dark spear units in the future, which could be another year or 6 months, we might never see another one. I really don't see too much of benefit of this Vision card. And so our demon wall right here, if you happen to pull this for Kane and you're free to play, great. I wouldn't chase the card again, but this is pretty decent. Now it has some killers. It's kind of like a mix of everything, so it's kind of But it does have 7% stop resist on there, dark resist and slash resist. So I see it being useful in a number of different situations. So again, it's a decent Esper, but I just don't think the card is worth chasing because of its limited usability. Okay, new target of research. Pretty decent for PvP here because we get 25 missile and 12% single target attack resistance, which is pretty darn good. Okay, so this is mainly going to be for PvP. However, on global, we got Frederica's Dream as a non-limited time, so that kind of takes away from the usefulness of this card across the board, but it's still a decent card. And again, in PvP, you only have 3 slots, so these combo things can actually work out really well. So I think it's pretty decent overall, but if you're not super focused on PvP, I think it's a 100% skipper. All right, so this card here, if you already have Diablos, it's not that great. However, you do get charm resist, so that's pretty good. Now, I don't see it being used that much in PvP, but in a lot of PvE stuff, you can get charmed. Remember the ribbon event, the hard number 5? I remember 2 of the units would charm in there, and usually 2 or 3 of my units would die each round. So having this will be really good for that. But the dark, again, if you have Diablos, you get up to 35 with that, so that's way higher than 15. So there's just not much usefulness in this card other than the charm resistance. So, I mean, it's great if you get it. It's an MR card, but if you don't, I wouldn't really chase after it. All right, so don't let being an MR vision card and Esper fool you. This is a really good one. You have 15% magic resist. Okay, so that's really good. So it's a great alternative to Fenrir, and that's why it's good across all categories. You can even free match going into the unknown, and then single target 15% disable resist. That's really good for PvP and PvE. So this is like a strong card across the board. So, you know, I'd recommend at least trying to pick it up when it comes out, or, you know, at least buying the shards on the shop and then working on it later, because it's a great card. Also, another just quick tip, for MR cards, you know, I think even if you've been free to play the entire time since the beginning of the game, you should have quite a few MR cards that are maxed out, and therefore you probably have MR tokens. So instead of using them on tickets at the beginning of each month, I would probably save those for key cards like this, and then the MR Vision cards are usually updated every month, and you have a much better selection than units in there and UR Vision cards, so you can actually use those tokens and max these out fairly quickly. So yeah, I'd recommend that over just tickets getting random stuff that you might already have a dupe of or you might never use. Alright, so Tonberry, he's got a little bit of everything. 15 magic attack, he's got some good killers, again, slash resist in there, and he's got paralyzed resist, which, you know, is pretty annoying in PvP and PvE. Scar's coming up next week, so, you know, you're going to have that in the mix. So it's just a great one across the board, and you know, it's not UR. So that's the thing, it's going to be a lot easier to get, and it's a decent Esper for what it is. Okay, so this was another new mechanic added to the game. So now in that black bar at the top, that black row, I've put in the vision card ability. Now this can be very useful. I've mentioned it before, but units like Masheri, who right now are pretty much unusable, with the augment of this and like the new healing rod and stuff like that, giving abilities on your weapons and vision cards, you can augment units like that that are weak, and then maybe take more advantage of her cleric utility and whatnot. So, you know, her as a unit, like, not that great for like damage and stuff like that, but she does have AoE magic attacks and stuff like that. And yeah, this is going to add a whole new layer of depth to the game with these new vision card abilities. So I'm personally in favor of them, as long as it doesn't hurt the stats. You know, and I'd like to see, like, in a major, maybe after the 1 year or a major update, add it to the old cards so they're not kind of like obsolete, if you will. Like, for example, we'll just take like the Scion card, right? So there's like a new one that comes out, and it's like magic version of the Scion card plus an ability, and I just feel like I kind of got shafted for getting that Scion card and maxing that out. Yes, that's for like physical, and the new one is for magical, but like old stuff, it's basically like a slap in the face, because the new stuff has the ability plus good stats, and the old stuff just has the stats and whatnot. So hopefully they go back and they add abilities to the older UR cards to make them comparable. So this is basically, it's basically a version of Titan for Magic. However, you know, single, it's only for staff users, so like the nerd and whatnot, I think they might be included in that, but it's specific jobs, right? So not every unit's going to benefit from it. So again, this is a PvP one, but you can still use the ability in PvE, right? But it's just going to be a lot more situational because it's man killer for magical attacks. Now, since it's magical attacks too, it's going to hurt hybrid units. Now, what does that mean? That means units like Rain, right? When he does jamming thrust for red mage, great, he gets the bonus from the man killer. But when he does soul prominence and whatnot, he's not going to get it. And that's going to be the same for Spellblade and whatnot. And Again, it's situational, but it's going to be an excellent card for PvP, Magic teams, and that's why it's gotten 4 out of 4 stars for all of those categories. So if you're into PvP, this is a definite picker-upper card. Even if you're not, because of the ability and what that ability can mean for other units and opening up new potentials, it might be worth picking that up for the future, but that's up to you. All right, Leviathan. When I first looked at this vision card in Esper, I was completely underwhelmed, but then I took another look and I saw the potential. So, right there, 20% pierce resist. That's the first UR card to have that. Great. I don't even think we have an MR version of pierce resist. Correct me if I'm wrong. Actually, I think we might. But because of that, it's going to be good across the board. For for number 4, it's gotten 0 stars because it adds nothing as far as like agility or damage, which is what those events are all about. And then for farming, because it gives a little defense and whatnot and resistance. But again, the 10% attack, it's blocked behind a wall, and to clear that wall, you need to be a sword user, which is unfortunate. But it is very strong because it has that pierce resist. So that's going to help you all across the board, but probably more so for PvP when you're going up against those teams. This Esper right here, it's basically like all-out attack for your water units. So you can get 15 water attack. You can also get 25 fire killer. So you're looking at 40% more damage when you're attacking fire units with a water unit, which is really good. It also has some other interesting things. You have pierce resist on it as well. So in combination with the vision card, just like Fenrir, you can get up to 35% pierce resistance. Now we don't have a water UR tank yet, but when we do, they'll probably be weak against pierce, and this will probably be really good for them. So great Esper here. I think this is a definite picker-upper for everybody, just because of the pierce resist, like great defensive and great offensive on the Esper. All right, Church Assassin. For PvP, this is a really good one. 10 evasion for single, and you get 15% single target resistance. So it's not quite as good as Odin, but hey, it's only MR. It's going to be a lot easier to cap out, and you can use the Mog Shop trick like I taught you. You also get 3 agility on the unit. So that's adding insult to injury, because most of the dodgy units are already fast. Okay, so this has gotten pretty good ratings across the board. Not too useful in number 4, but 5 and 6 pretty decent. Good for farming because of the agility and the evasion and the defense, mostly because of the agility. But for PvP, if you're going with a dodge team, this is going to replace that crappy SR card or whatever it is, or the Shadow Lynx one with the 15 missile resist, because this 15 single is basically good for that and everything across the board, and you get guaranteed 10 evasion and agility. So it completely trumps those 2 other cards, and you combine it with Shiva and your Secrets of the Heart for your luck. So wow, it's about time, right? Finally a unit that boosts ice. All right, this is going to be good across the board. Great for PvP for those ice teams. You can kiss all Ayakas goodbye in Arena once this comes out, probably permanently. And then number 4, it's great. This will be best in slot for anything where ice has the advantage, because there's nothing else right now for that. So definitely a getter if you have like an ice team like Laswell, Gilgamesh, Freyeva, Agrias, etc. But even if you don't have it, you might want to do it in the future, because eventually there are going to be ice units that you want. Even Mediana benefits from this as well. The attack and the magic are just as good. All right, now this card right here, if you don't have Scion, you had better save for this, and you had better save your pots and everything. Buy all the shards in the shop, the Whimsy shop, everything all out. Get it. good across the board, every category, always. 15% agility rather. Wow. So it's like a magic version of that. And you get that crazy ability up there. AoE resistance down, 5 square, AoE knockback, 2 seconds, two casts rather. This card is crazy. So anyone said there's not a power creep? Yeah, there's a power creep. So it's again, this is what I mentioned earlier in the video. It's like the Scion magic version plus the ability on it. So it trumps the Scion card if you're going with a magic team for sure. All right, so this is a definite getter for everybody. Even if you already have Scion, you probably want this because it's the magic version and it has the ability. So start saving. All right, now this one came out with Rita, the Halloween unit. It's kind of made for her, and we can see that in a single category where you get wind only 30% magic. Now the only other unit that can get bonus from that and is I believe is Harlot right now. There might be more in the future. I'm sure there will be, but kind of limited there. But again, since we have the split stat there, it's going to benefit you more in PvP. Doesn't mean it's not going to benefit you in PvE. But again, this is like a limited use that they're blocking out 30% behind like wind unit only, right? And the group isn't wind attack, it's magic attack. So you basically have to use it with the wind user. It's just like the Demon Wall card. When it's strong, it's strong. But if it doesn't meet a certain requirement, it's not that strong. So I wouldn't recommend going after this unless that's specifically what you want. All right, now the Dupont Vision card is kind of like limited use, which is bad for a Vision card considering, how far you have to go for them. However, the Esper, we have a new thing here, and that's 15 accuracy instead of 7. So you get an additional 8 with this Esper. So just having that is pretty good. And you get 20% magic. So for a magical unit, even if you're just using it for the accuracy, it could be very good just for that. But everything else on the Esper, I didn't really see anything new. It's just the accuracy stood out to me on there. All right, so this one's also a new game mechanic. You can see you get 15 crit, that's regardless of the unit. But now, in addition to being, like element or weapon locked, it's unit locked. What the heck? So this is like a bad direction, a lazy direction, in my opinion. Just fix the unit and don't make a vision card that's specifically for that unit. The group, the AP up, I guess it's a decent alternative to the UR version. But I gave this basically crap across the board because it's a crap card unless you have that unit. If you have that unit and put it on that unit, it's amazing. But for all the other units, again, like there's really bad feedback about this on JP. I think it's complete garbage. I hope units like Eileen, Masheri, Rob, Oldie, I hope they fix the units themselves. I mean, if they do it through a vision card, it's lazy in my opinion, and it's trying to get people to spend more money instead of them just spending more time doing something that they should have done to begin with. So thumbs down in my opinion. Alright guys, there's a long video, but there's a lot of vision cards and stuff to go over. I hope all the rating categories help you in deciding of what you want to aim for with your account. I did it based on the categories. Again, it is opinion, but it's objective opinion based on fact. But again, do what's going to be best for you and your team, and ultimately what's going to allow you to have the most fun with the game. Also, let me know what you think of the new mechanics they've added. I personally really like the vision card ability, but I think the old card should also get an ability as well, so they don't get power crept and whatnot. Also, I don't agree at all with has to be a dark unit, has to be a wind unit, has to have a sword, has to have a staff, especially has to be this unit, because the whole reason the vision cards make your team stronger than anything else in the game, the whole reason you would go after them is to add more versatility to your kit. And when it's locked and limited to one specific thing, it loses about half of its value, in my opinion. And unless you're going for that specific thing, I would advise you to avoid those types of cards, because in the future you'll probably get a more versatile version of it that'll work for everyone. Okay, that's all my criticism. Putting that aside, there are a lot of good and interesting things coming out. I definitely like the abilities. So not all negative criticism. There's positive as well. Again, hope you guys like it. Just let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, etc. And I'll see you next time on another episode of FFBE War of the Visions. Take care.